Hello, everyone. Ex-Wallkill Bethelite here. And I have to talk about the abuse of authority that goes on with policing that led to the murder of Tyree Nichols. If I did not speak out about that, but I spoke out about Watchtower and what goes on inside of Watchtower, then that would be hypocritical for me to talk about the abuses of authority that goes on inside of cults, but I don't talk about the abuses of authority that go on with policing. And it's so interesting that this has been going on in America for as long as it has. One of the reasons why this is so interesting, that the police brutality, the abuses of authority, police murdering people, this is going on for so long, or just being unprofessional, cussing people out, doing all kinds of things. It's interesting because in America, we're interested in what's going on in other countries, right? We're interested in what's going on in Afghanistan. We're interested in what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. Now, Russia and Ukraine are involved in a war. And I'm sure this is not a simple conflict, not easy to solve. Afghanistan is trying to build an entire country. I'm sure it's not easy to build an entire country, but we got reporters over in Afghanistan pointing at everything that's going on wrong there and then judging them and talking about it as if, well, you should do better. Well, here in America, we can't get a traffic stop right without murdering somebody. But we're all in the mix of everything going on in other countries, judging them, telling them what they should do and what is moral and what is not moral. There were reporters going to Afghanistan talking about, well, women should not have to wear the traditional clothing. They shouldn't do this. They shouldn't do that. And over here, we can't get a traffic stop right. Maybe we should be more concerned with what goes on in America, the basic things, the simple things, like a traffic stop. Getting those things right, once we get the simple, basic things right here in America, like just basic police encounters without police putting their knees in people's necks and them ending up dead, police putting people in chokeholds because they were selling loose cigarettes and then them ending up dead, police pulling people out of their cars and slamming them on the ground. Next thing you know, they end up dead. There was a person who called a police officer for a welfare check, just so that the cop will come and check and make sure everything's okay at a specific house. Well, the cop goes over to the house, goes into the backyard, sees that there's someone in the window of the house, where they should be, in their house, and the cop shoots them dead. They're on trial for that right now. There are so many situations in America where you see a problem and it's blatant problem, an obvious problem that needs to be addressed, but we're steady busy over in some other country. The concept, from my understanding, is that we set the example, and because we in America set the example, because we're doing what we should do here, well, that gives us the moral authority to be able to involve ourselves in what's going on anywhere else in any other country if we feel it's wrong. Well, what happens when we're ignoring what goes on here in America with policing? When we're just ignoring a blatant, obvious issue? How are we able to go all over the world and point out everybody else's issues when we're having a problem? America is supposed to be a Christian country. Well, Jesus said not to point out the straw in your brother's eye when you got a rafter in your own eye. Meaning, quit bothering all these other countries talking about Afghanistan and you don't like their culture with women. Well, maybe people don't like being murdered by police in America. So maybe we should work on fixing that. Have reporters report on that. And not report on things that's going on in other countries. You know, it's quite something when the code of conduct for police in America, and America is a first world country. America is what we would call a world power. America has enough money and schooling and education, and we have enough here to where we would expect a high level of, we expect a lot out of our government, right? Our government taxes us. Our government, we pay enough taxes to the government to where we expect a lot from our government and our government officials. Well, if you have police and their code of conduct is lower than the code of conduct at McDonald's, that's a problem. That is a problem. If I go to McDonald's right now, I'm telling you, if I go to McDonald's right now and on video, I ask the manager, what are some fireable offenses? Or if I call McDonald's customer service, what are some fireable offenses? The list would be long. There's no way the manager of McDonald's would tell me, well, as far as fireable offenses, the only thing I see on the list is murder, right? Beating someone up, well, maybe not. We may or may not fire somebody for beating someone up. Cussing at someone or using all kinds of profanity while you're at work, we may or may not fire somebody. We may put them on administrative leave and just pay them while they sit at home and relax. That might happen. The code of conduct is higher at McDonald's than the code of conduct with police. The cashier at McDonald's can't curse somebody out because they cut in line. The cashier at McDonald's can't curse somebody out or throw them to the ground or punch them in the face because a person was upset and irate about an order. What McDonald's will most likely do is call the police. Now that's a high code of conduct, right? Where there isn't an American anywhere who thinks that if they go to McDonald's and they yell and scream because their fries are cold and they're hungry and they're irritated or their order was wrong, there isn't a soul in America that thinks they're going to get murdered by the McDonald's employees. Why is that? It's because the code of conduct at McDonald's is higher than the code of conduct with police. With police, when police pull you over, there is a possibility, a much higher possibility, that you would be murdered or beaten or cursed out, at least cursed out, or at least yelled at. And just for being upset about a situation, not because you're threatening the officer, not because you hit the officer, not because you put your hand on the officer, not because you reached for a weapon, but just because you're upset. The code of conduct is higher at Chick-fil-A, right? The employees there will, to a certain extent, stop the other employee. If an employee at Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King, almost anywhere, if an employee got out of control and went to go fight a customer, the other employees, I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, really 10 times out of 10, are going to come out and restrain their fellow employee from beating or attacking or injuring the customer, even if the customer's irate. They're going to restrain them so that things can be handled the correct way. You understand, there's video evidence of what I'm talking about. There's video evidence of fights breaking out at Taco Bell, McDonald's, what have you, fast food places. And the employees at the fast food place, there was someone there with more sense and a higher code of conduct than the police, because there were multiple police officers there when Tyree was beaten to death. Whenever we talk about a situation with police, someone tends to feel the need to state, oh, well, there's all these good police officers, and this is an isolated situation. I challenge that. I would challenge that with anyone that wants to argue that McDonald's can restrain employees from beating people, let alone beating them to death. But the police, there ain't nobody there. And there were a lot of them. There were 5 that were involved with the murder. There were more that were there. So you mean to tell me that where were the good police officers then? Where were the fine officers? See, what we're judging, I think, the other police officers, the police chiefs, the people like that, I think they're judging their fellow employees based off of their how much they like them, their character. They see them on a regular basis. They talk with them. They laugh with them. They smile with them. They're probably saying, well, they're not a bad person. Well, that's not the measuring stick. This is not what we're gauging. There are plenty of people locked up in prison for all kinds of crimes that may be a nice person. They may actually be nice outside of the crime that they committed. We're judging them based off of the crime. That they're a criminal based off the crime. So when you're saying that there are all these fine officers and there's the majority of them are good, well, that flies as a contrast to what we saw. And that it's very unlikely that someone's going to beat someone to death amongst, let's say that there's 5 officers that were involved. Let's just say that there were 10 officers there. It is next to impossible for you, I, or anyone else to walk up to a citizen and beat them to death amongst 10 officers. That's impossible. Somebody's going to see it. Somebody's going to stop it because they all know it's wrong. So in this situation, if there's other police beating someone, putting their knee up in somebody's neck, and they're yelling that they can't breathe, or putting them in chokeholds and or beating them to death, if it's a police officer doing it, well then the pattern that we see is that everybody else turns the other way, which means there aren't all these fine, wonderful police officers. What that means is there needs to be checks and balances to ensure safety. Our safety is not ensured because we think cops are nice people. Our safety is not ensured because we think officers are fine officers. Safety is ensured by procedures, protocols, accountability. That's what we have for every citizen in America. We don't just assume that people are nice, fine citizens and so they just wouldn't do anything. No, we have checks and balances to make sure that they don't. Even if they are a nice person, you still have the checks and balances to make sure that they don't. And for video after video after video after video, we've got people who are recording the police officers. They're recording police interactions. And there is video after video after video after video. They're countless at this point. They're countless videos of police officers being unprofessional. The amount of videos are countless. You cannot count them. There are so many videos of police officers being unprofessional. So if there are that many of them that are being unprofessional, and then you have to add to that the other cops that are all around standing there watching them, that's a lot of bad apples. So when you say the majority of them are good, impossible. Impossible. Because any place of employment, drive down the street and look at every business you see. In every one of those businesses, the people who ensure that the employees of those businesses don't do something wrong are the other employees. The people who report typically are the other employees. They see something going on wrong and then they go tell their supervisor. Most companies operate that way. Meaning there are enough people with a high moral standard to where if they see something that's wrong and is really wrong, they're going to go and report it. They're going to go tell, meaning wrongdoing just can't go on in the open. You can't just do wrongdoing out in the open at work because you're worried. The reason you're worried is the high level of code of conduct that most people have. Somebody's going to tell on you. Somebody's going to see it. They're going to tell on you. Well, with police, if it's the opposite, cops don't care. They'll cuss you out. They'll slam you on the ground. They'll make up a charge. And they'll do this in front of all the other and they're not concerned about it. The culture has got to be worse than what we have in pretty much any other company I'm aware of in America. The culture among police has got to be the same as the culture in the prison. Prisons are probably the only places that I can think of where people will do things that are really, really wrong, really bad. They might shank somebody. They may kill somebody, and all the other prisoners will probably just be quiet about it. The only other place outside of prison is with police. Police will go murder somebody, and then the other cops will all back them up, make up a lie to kind of cover it up. Oh, that the Tyree was strong and he was beating all 5 of us up and taking our guns out of our holsters and spinning them around his finger like Billy the Kid, so we had to beat him to death. Like, they'll make up a story which is not possible if the majority of them are good. Mathematically, it is impossible If the majority of the police are good, for there to be countless videos of countless cops who are unprofessional, let alone the ones that are murdering people, slamming them on the ground, beating them up. So essentially, we have the policing code of conduct for policing. The code of conduct is the same as a third world country. I'm telling you, the Taliban and ISIS may actually police their countries better or at the same level as what we do here in America. Because I have seen, I've been pulled over because a police officer thought in their head that I stole my own car. They just, whatever is suspicious in their head, they'll pull somebody over. There was a person who was detained by police because they went to Taco Bell, got themselves some Taco Bell, and I've done the same thing where, man, I'm not waiting all the way till I get home. There might be traffic. I'm not waiting in an hour of traffic to wait till I get home to go eat. I'm going to get my Taco Bell. I'm going to pull over and then just eat it there in the parking lot. Relax in my car. I don't feel like going inside and being around people. Just relax and eat my Taco Bell. Well, somebody did that, and they were detained by police as a result. There's a video of this where the cop comes up to his window and the guy's like, well, I'm eating my Taco Bell. Here it is. Here's the Taco Bell I'm eating. Here's the Taco Bell that I came from to go eat it. And the cop is just sure in their head that he's there to rob the place because at some point in time, someplace there was robbed. Someplace amongst the whole shopping center around where Taco Bell is, one of the places was robbed. So that means that if a person eats their Taco Bell in their car, well, we need to detain them because they may be about to eat their Taco Bell to build up their strength so that they're going to go rob the building. Like in society in general, not just in America and all around the world, there is a level of intellect that we expect from adults. Ridiculousness, once a person is past, I would say 16, we start expecting a certain level of intellect. We start expecting a certain level of just common sense. But we don't see it. And the woman who detained the guy for eating his Taco Bell, and then another cop pulls up and they're all with the flashlights, with the high beams looking all through his car because he stopped to eat Taco Bell. And they're doing it on video. And then nothing happens to them. They're being ridiculous at the highest level of ridiculousness. They're being ridiculous on a level that we no longer expect once a person passes the age of 16. Where we know that they're being ridiculous because it's on camera and nothing is done. We just keep leaving them out on the streets to we need to stop paying attention to everything that's going on in other countries. The straw in every other country's eye, when we got a rafter in our own eye, we can't even figure out how to do a traffic stop. Now, the interesting thing about all the police out cussing and being unprofessional and being nasty, have you ever called a police station? I have. Now, it hadn't been very often that I've called them, but I've called them once before. And the person on the line, the dispatch or what have you, they are allowed to be nastier than anybody in any other company that you could call. And there's no company that you can call where people can be nastier to you on the line than if you call whoever it is that answers the phone for the police. I don't know who does it, but I called them once, I think, in my whole life, and that was the nastiest phone conversation. I'm trying to tell the lady, she asked me what happened. So then I tried to tell her what happened. She said, well, you're wasting your story on me. Wait till I get a police officer out there. Well, you just asked me what happened. I'm telling you. And then you're telling me I'm wasting my breath telling you when you. The level of how nasty these police officers are, how rude, how unprofessional, how they're this way on camera should show you they have reached a level of depravity that there ain't too many institutions anywhere other than the prison system where people behave like that. And it's just allowed. This is just what we expect. So comment down below, let me know what you think. But I think this is what I think needs to happen. Just like when a police officer pulls us over, and there are all these different procedures in place to ensure their safety. You put your hands on the steering wheel. You have one police officer come to your door while the other one is over at the passenger side. They've essentially surrounded you. If the police officer even thinks you're going to take off, they have you turn the car off and pull the key out. If the police officer even thinks you might do something, they have you stand outside of the car. All these procedures to ensure safety. If it's legal for you to have a firearm and the police officer asks you, hey, do you have a gun in the car? And it's legal, and you tell them that you have one. They can have you put the gun, they can ask for the gun and put it up on top of they have a zillion things in place to make sure the cop is safe. Well, if you can put all those things in place to make sure that the cop is safe, why can't you put some things in place to make sure the citizen is safe? Such as them not being able to curse at people. If they can't even control their language, how in the world do you think they can control their temper? It's called being professional. If the cops cannot control their language, if there's 1,000 videos of cops being unprofessional, cussing, being rude, being nasty, why do you think they're going to control their behavior? Obviously they aren't, and obviously they don't. So there needs to be a standard. Just like there's a standard, you got to put your hands on the steering wheel and all kinds of stuff. This is what we got to do. When it's the cop that's being paid we're not being paid, but we got all the procedures, right? Then there should be procedure. What a cop should be able to say. What do they say when they come to the door? Not what the hell you doing out here, or give me your license plate, or give me your this and give me your, what do they say when they come to the traffic stop? Okay, well, there's a number of things that the person could respond. Well, what's the procedure? If the person is resisting arrest, that's a charge. Resisting arrest is not punishable by the death penalty. You don't beat people to death because they resist arrest. You just, you got them on camera. If they're resisting, you charge them with resisting. You put the restraints on. You don't tase them to time indefinite. You put the restraints on them, put them in the car. If they make it difficult, you charge them for resisting arrest. You don't beat them to death. You don't tase them infinite times. You don't shoot them. You don't have 5 people jump on their back. There should be the same procedures where we've got to stand outside of our car, put our arms on the steering wheel, and do everything in the world to make the cop feel safe. There should be some procedures to make the citizens also feel safe, such as just basic common sense code of conduct. This person is cussing at me. Tyree ran. I don't know if he ran just to get away from these people who I think he sensed was about to beat him up or kill him, or if because they tased him and the pain from the taser. Your average citizen don't don't go through taser training. So the shock of being tased, who knows? He may have thought he was already shot and got up and ran thinking, I'm hit. You know what I mean? Whatever the case, that would be resisting arrest. It's not go kill him. So the president needs to do something. Otherwise, stay out of the business of every other country in the world. Stop telling everybody else what they should and shouldn't do. Leave North Korea alone. Leave Afghanistan and all those countries in the Middle East alone. Stop charging the taxpayer for all these missiles you want to shoot in all these other countries when you want to ignore what's going on in America with policing and do nothing about it until after somebody's dead. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. But cops are able to operate just off of suspicion. What they think in their head might happen or you might do or what have you, right? If I yell at a cop, that's disorderly conduct or resisting arrest. Well, what if the cop yells at me? Is that disorderly conduct? If the cop is cussing at me, is that disorderly conduct? I've seen a police officer, a white police officer, handcuff people, and she was using the N-word towards them. And they got to sit there in handcuffs and listen to that. Is that disorderly conduct? Why is it only disorderly conduct if the citizen yells or is irate? Why isn't it disorderly conduct when the cop yells and is irate and is throwing people on the ground? And comment down below. Let me know what you think. This is ridiculous. Literally, we need to just operate as if we're in a third world country when you see a cop coming. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.